They thought fear was the enemy. They were wrong. Fear had already passed. What filled the room now was something heavier: clarity. When the truth finally settled, when the enemy's nature was stripped bare and laid out without mercy, the conference stopped pretending this was just another war. Velgryn's presence alone guaranteed the Emperor's safety, and everyone in that room understood the rule without it being spoken. She would not save them. She would only ensure they had the chance to save themselves. No shields, no miracles, no dragon descending to erase their mistakes. The burden of survival was theirs. Timelines replaced speeches, cold, unforgiving lines drawn across maps and documents. Months before full possession, weeks before the enemy fleet could move freely. And at the center of it all, Atlantis. The smallest landmass on the map, now the loudest ticking clock in the world. Orders followed. Surveillance intensified, satellites retasked, intelligence networks stretched thin, elite strike forces proposed with quiet urgency. Gensai stepped forward first, followed by the Imperial Swordsman Guard, their decision instant, unquestioned. They didn't volunteer for glory. They volunteered because someone had to go first. Resolve surged, and then Velgrynd shattered it. Are you people serious? Or just suicidal? No raised voice, no threat, just blunt disbelief. The room froze. In that single sentence, she reframed everything. This wasn't a national conflict, not even a continental one. This was extinction math. Species against replacement, and no single flag, no matter how proud, could shoulder that weight alone. Reluctantly, painfully, the inevitable conclusion emerged. Rivals would have to unite, not their armies, too slow, too political, but their strongest elites. Anything less was an invitation to possession, to erasure. Doubts flooded in, old grudges, broken treaties, fear of betrayal whispered through clenched teeth, and Velgrynd answered none of it with comfort. So you're just gonna give up without even trying? The challenge wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Pride ignited. One by one, objections died in throats. Diplomats nodded, already calculating which bridges could still be crossed. Commanders accepted the risk of failure and chose resistance anyway, because paralysis was just surrender with better excuses. This isn't a war anymore, someone said, voice steady despite the weight of it. It's survival. Velgrynd smiled then, small, satisfied. They were weak, but finally, they were thinking like survivors. Atlantis didn't look like extinction from above. It looked like paradise. Tropical rainforests swallowed the island in green, dense and wet and alive. Beneath that beauty ran metal veins and oil reserves, resources that had transformed the island into Azeria's largest military base. Strategic strength, they'd called it. And strength, misused, always becomes a wound. Deep beneath the jungle, older than maps and names, slept an ancient ritual site. When it awakened, the earth itself split open, not violently, but deliberately. An underworld gate bloomed where forgotten ruins once stood. This wasn't an accident. Long before Azeria existed, indigenous mystics had torn a hairline fracture in space-time to speak with gods. Later, higher beings from the underworld refined it, stabilized it, left it dormant, waiting. When Azeria arrived, they didn't fight. They didn't warn. They simply watched. And when the moment was right, they took everything. Base, infrastructure, supply lines, using humanity's own strength as a staging ground. The gate is far too small for Cornu to fit through. That assessment sealed Atlantis' fate. At the heart of the occupation stood Masahiko Amari, human in form, mystic in truth. Once a cherub in angelic service, now a martial-class invader. His body was possessed, refined through battle will until its existence points soared into the tens of millions. He wasn't a brute, he was a planner. Memories intact, intelligence sharp, discipline absolute. He orchestrated possession rituals with clinical precision as Yoma poured through the gate. Every stolen name anchored unstable souls into permanence. Identity became a weapon. Memory became a chain. Around him, other possessed elites debated victory as if extinction were already paperwork. David Reagan laughed openly, host to a general-class mystic, dismissing human resistance as irrelevant noise. Li Jinlong alone hesitated. He spoke one name, the Holy Fist, a human capable of erasing staff officers. The room laughed until they didn't. Pulcinella had already fallen, and risen again as a Yoma ruler. Xianhua isn't even a threat to us, David declared, amusement dripping from his voice. And that was the problem. The invasion had become efficient, generals fully manifested, marshals stabilized, the gate now strong enough to anchor entire regiments. Plans were already forming, vessels worthy of Cornu himself, the supreme leader, the arrival that would make the world's collapse irreversible. Everything was in place, except one thing. Amari felt it. Not fear of humans, but the unease of an impossible variable. The kind that ruins perfect strategies without warning. He pushed his forces harder, refused complacency, accelerated timelines. Any human resistance here is barely worth paying attention to, he said, even as his instincts screamed otherwise. Atlantis lay silent beneath the jungle canopy, a conquered island humming with alien will. Not the end of a war, but the opening note of extinction. Velgrynd didn't go to the battlefield next. She went to the library. An ocean of forgotten tomes, names, dates, lineages that echoed too precisely to be coincidence. The Holy Arshan Empire, the United States of Azeria, and one name that struck too close to memory, President George Hayes. Curiosity hardened into certainty. Arshian kings bore familiar names. Laurent Hayes, George's father, former bearer of Ludora's soul fragment. He had lived and died here exactly as she remembered. So little George got elected president too, huh? 25 years. Same world, same bloodlines. She remembered saving Laurent's life, blessing his infant son, walking beside their history unseen. Even the record's complaint that Laurent married late due to a mysterious, beautiful woman rang uncomfortably true. Velgrynd scoffed, then sighed. I really wish I could send them a letter. History, it seemed, never truly let her go. The present, however, was far less sentimental. The Empress greeted her with open hostility, called her presence repulsive. Velgrynd didn't argue. She stepped closer, brushed the woman's hair, let her power flow. Youth bloomed instantly. Not time reversal, just revitalization, flesh restored through spiritual energy, health renewed, vitality extended, a future quietly rewritten. Awe replaced resentment in seconds. By the end of the encounter, palace critics had become eager students. Breathing techniques, meditation, balance. Velgrynd accepted their devotion with mild amusement. She never meant to change lives. She just did. Days passed. Tea, lessons, courtiers unsettled by her ageless poise. And beyond the palace walls, the world stalled. Diplomacy failed. Militaries waited. The Yoma advanced unseen. Velgrynd felt the clock. Me shooing away the mystics isn't going to end this war. Victory without cooperation would only delay extinction. So she stopped waiting. She walked into the Foreign Ministry's intelligence office and took control. Negotiations had drowned in caution. Azeria, Arshian Empire, everyone insisting now's not the time. Well, I'm glad to see you're taking your time with this. She seized the line herself. Her call to the United States of Azeria was blunt, personal. When bureaucracy resisted, she cut through it. Just put little George on the line for me. Names mattered. Then the Arshian Empire, no diplomacy, just leverage. Comply, and she would grant them a new sacred treasure. A sword, a spear, whatever they desired. Sacred treasures weren't forged, they were legends. And the idea that one could be created at will shattered doctrine on contact. Ignoring the message was impossible, reporting it unavoidable. Behind her, officers panicked, accused her of recklessness, deception. Velgrynd didn't correct them. Momentum mattered more than approval. The world could argue later. For now, it had to move. Because somewhere beneath a jungle canopy, an impossible variable was about to remind the invaders that extinction was never as simple as it looked.